Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and of course, continuing on with the Lion King movie week. And yep, that's right, you know what I'm reviewing, you know what's next, yep. This, I gotta say, right next to the first Lion King film, this being one of my favorites, and no hard feelings to the other Lion King films, especially Lion King 2, and as I said in my review of that, yeah. And the fact that this is the only sidequel that Disney Toon Studios ever made, yeah, the only one, and the fact that this takes place before and after and during the events altogether, of the first Lion King film. That's right. I am reviewing, and not to mention, it is celebrating its anniversary from 2004, The Lion King 1.5. Or, in the UK, it's titled The Lion King 3, Hakuna Matata. But yeah, Lion King 1.5, that's the proper and official title for this, yeah. But yeah, Lion King 1.5, starring none other than Timon and Pumba. It's their movie. Yeah, what can you say about The Lion King 1.5 and the fact that it stars our two favorite sidekick duo Disney characters, Timon and Pumba, this being their movie, and what they were doing before and after the events of the first Lion King film, even the film taking place and starting off before the beginning of the first Lion King film, before the whole Circle of Life song number, and that being the opening to the first Lion King film. Yeah. And the fact, anybody who would watch this for the first time would not expect that at the start of this film, well, Timon and Pumbaa would be doing a little bit of a fourth wall breaking, technically, because, well, basically they're watching the movie, on a theater screen and such, and they have the remote to, playing and watching the movie. A little nod to Mystery Science Theater. Yeah, if any of you knew this. Yeah, and my memories, and the first things I have to say about The Lion King 1.5, well, Lion King 1.5 was one of those Disney films and one of those direct-to-Disney video/DVD film sequels from Disney Toon Studios that I watched constantly. There was this, a little bit of Lilo and Stitch, mostly it was Stitch the movie, and some of the Winnie the Pooh films. Yeah. And yeah, I would watch The Lion King 1.5 a good chunk of times, along with some of the other Disney films, from Disney feature animation from, say, well, the first Lion King film, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Brother Bear, Home on the Range, Chicken Little, and with Pixar. I've talked about this before, and I'm sure you guys know, but yeah. I have so many fond memories when watching The Lion King 1.5, and that also goes for, say, my parents, especially my mom. Oh, yeah. And at a certain point in this movie where she just almost just lost it, like, collapsing on the floor, dying with laughter, but until I get there. And when checking out the bonus features and such, not just on Disc 1, but especially Disc 2 and those DVD games from, say, the Who Wants to Be King of the Jungle, Timon and Pumbaa's Virtual Safari, oh yeah, can't forget to mention that, and a bunch of other games and features that were on Disc 2, and, well, not to mention that Lion King 1.5, coming out almost 10 years after the first Lion King film, well, that was because of that, with the existence of Lion King 1.5 for that purpose, and also, because of, with the DVD releases and such. I think you get what I'm saying, and if any of you know this, yeah. But overall, Lion King 1.5, and clearly, because this is canon, it is canon to The Lion King, what happens and what we see from Timon and Pumbaa's point of view, not to mention, because we know, of course, that The Lion King, taking inspiration from Hamlet, well, For Lion King 1.5, two characters from Hamlet, like, centering on them. I'm sure you know this, yeah. Yeah, just what Lion King 1.5 had to offer with its story, Timon and Pumbaa being the main characters of this Lion King film, and with the addition of some familiar faces appearing in this, as well as new faces stepping in from Timon's side of Meerkats. Yeah, just overall, Lion King 1.5 is definitely a nostalgic Disney animated film from the early 2000s, you know, and for us 2000s babies, having watched this, and especially having grown up with, at the time, when the Disney direct-to-video / DVD film sequels were happening, and so on. Yeah, what more do I have to say? Lion King 1.5 is no disappointment. I think for anybody, you know, who would watch this for the first time and such, you know, and those that love the first Lion King film, and checking out the Lion King sequels for the first time, as well as the Lion King live-action materials, yeah, this is pretty good, yeah. And nice to see, because I did notice this, that a 76% score on Rotten Tomatoes. That's pretty good, don't you think? Yeah. All right, so, enough said. As always, for me, read the description / the story. This retelling of The Lion King is confided, from the perspective of Meerkat Timon and Warthog Pumba, and shows how the pair became friends. When Timon leaves his colony because he doesn't fit in, he meets the lonely Pumba. Together, Timon and Pumbaa search for a new home, having adventures along the way, and eventually meeting up with the Lion Prince Simba, who is in exile from his home and must challenge the evil Scar for the title of Lion King. Okay, so getting into the film itself, and technically I talked a little bit of background and such, but also to mention the film's director, Bradley Raymond, who, you know, had been a part of Disney for a while, and even before, he wound up being the director of Lion King 1.5. Like he had done, say, Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, if anybody cares about that, Pocahontas 2, even a big involvement in Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, and other later Disney materials that he would find himself being a part of, like the later projects / materials from Disney Toon Studios, like some of the Tinkerbell films, as well as being involved in, say, Raya, the Last Dragon, sorry. Yeah, so good for him, and nice to see that, you know, him being involved and attached to direct one of the Lion King films, yeah. All right, so, okay, yeah, getting into the Lion King 1.5 itself, because, yeah, well, the movie opening, just like the first one, you know, with, you know, the first notes of the Circle of Life, and then Timon, we out of nowhere hear Timon's voice, "What's on the menu?" And we hear Timon and Pumbaa starting to talk, and out of nowhere, well, because we see Timon clicking a button on the remote, and it's fast-forwarding the Lion King, because he wants to get to the part where they come in, and Pumba just, you know, telling Timon that he can't go out of order, and they've got to go back to the beginning of the story, and, you know, Timon complaining that they're not in the beginning of the story, Pumba telling him that, yes, we were the whole time, and, well, it comes to that maybe they should, you know, tell the audience their story. Pumba suggests that, and then Timon is like, hey, I've got an idea, why don't we tell them our story? Again, Timon coming up with the same idea that Pumba has. And thus, they rewind the film, and they're basically going way back to before the beginning. Yep, before, as I said, right when the first Lion King film began, and with, you know, the sunrise, Circle of Life, before that. So, by going way back, actually, a day before the first Lion King film happens, well, you know, seeing Pride Rock and them talking about Pride Rock, and, you know, Timon commenting, saying that the lions get, you know, get Pride Rock. What about us meerkats and such? And, yeah. And Fun fact, because in the first Lion King film, Pumbaa's backstory, it was originally Timon's backstory on, when he was a part of the meerkat colony and such. And even when the Timon and Pumbaa show did that, their telling of Timon and Pumbaa's background and such. But in this, Lion King 1.5, this is the true official backstory and origins on each of them, Timon and Pumbaa, their beginnings and when they would cross paths, and from there on. So, by the camera fast-forwarding backwards and, far, far away from Pride Rock, we see where these meerkats are living, and they're digging through tunnels and not to get killed and eaten by hyenas. And one of our first song numbers, which being Digatana. Oh, man, that being kind of an earworm, don't you think? Because, yeah, just Digatana, Digatana. I know my friend Tyler, he said that that being an earworm, so yeah. But anyways, but it's a good song number. It is, and, well, it is catchy, so yeah. Just the meerkats, singing about them digging tunnels and, preparing until the hyenas come in to attack/eat the meerkats. And two new faces that are in The Lion King 1.5, family members of Timon's. His mother, and as she's referred to, Ma, that's how Timon calls her, being voiced by Julie Kavner, a.k.a. the voice of Marge Simpson, and which, by the way, Lion King 1.5 is the only animation piece, material, and such that Julie Kavner has done outside of, doing The Simpsons. Yeah, that's amazing. And actually, Lion King 1.5 was one of my first introductions to Julie Kavner, so yeah. And Uncle Max, Timon's uncle, yeah, being voiced by the late legendary Jerry Stiller, and we know him, of course, being the father of Ben Stiller, yeah. And, coincidentally, because Jerry Stiller being in an animated film that has lions, while for his son, Ben would, wound up being in an animated film the next year where he voices a lion. So, yeah. Ma's looking for Timon and asking some of them, but they're too busy singing, and when it comes to Uncle Max, have you seen Timon? And Uncle Max is just like, no, I haven't actually, there's no sign of Timon anywhere, and, well, something happens, part of the tunnels and such crumble, and Uncle Max, he's just like, that would be Timon! And it was. And yeah, we get our introduction of Timon and his early beginnings and being a part of the meerkat colony, always unintentionally screwing things up, yeah, and for the meerkats, and at times embarrassing his mom. And well, Timon, he was trying to make a skylight, but by doing that, causing parts of the tunnel to collapse and crumble, yeah. And Timon, he a little later talks to his mom, he feels sick and tired of them just constantly living underground and hiding from danger, just wanting to find, a proper home and where they don't have to be underground anymore and such. And Timon's ma at times being a mom and always trying to fix his hair and such. It's funny. And Timon's mom explaining to him that, past the trees, over the mountains, everything the light touches belongs to someone else. Yeah. Well, not everybody and such, but, and the direction that this movie's taking and what Timon is searching for. Yeah, and a mentioning, just like in the first Lion King film, about, when we die, we become the grass, and, they eat the grass, and so on, yeah. And, just so happens that nobody is taking a part of being taking the sentry position, basically keeping an eye out and for any possible hyenas approaching. And Ma suggests that her son take that position. Uncle Max finds this, terrifying and, just kill me now. And, well, because I mean, like, one of the other meerkats, not doing so great at, taking that position and just going crazy. Just, yeah, that one shot with him and being carried away. Oh, that poor meerkat. And they do say his name. I know that. I don't know why I can't see him in the cast, but if I remember to do so, I'll put the name of that meerkat in the text. Who's just like, they're coming, just, and he's carried away. Again, that poor meerkat. And yeah, Timon's ma really suggesting that Timon take that position, or maybe Timon can, work with the other meerkats and such in the tunnels, and Timon and Uncle Max and the other colony of meerkats just shouting, no! Just, yeah. So the position is given to Timon on, being the sentry, watch out, and so on. And Uncle Max teaching Timon certain things on this position, scurry, sniff, flinch! And, what do we do if we see a hyena? Scream, mommy! And, yep, thus Timon, doing his job, and even like he was applauding just, because of what Uncle Max was teaching him, and, try clapping when you don't have any hands. That part, pretty funny. And thus Timon doing the exact same thing that his uncle taught him, scurry, sniff, flinch. And he starts to like the sound of it, and, finds this like a cool groove and such. And thus, well, we come to our next song number, which of course being, That's All I Need. This one, I don't know, because I think it's one of my favorite songs from this movie. Like, no hard feelings on, say, like, Digatana and the others, but I'm just saying, I mean, we're all entitled to our opinions, and we have our favorite songs from the Lion King films, right? Okay. Yeah, just with Nathan Lane, and yeah, can't forget to mention Nathan Lane once again voicing Timon, as well as Ernie Sabella voicing Pumba, who apart from, them pausing the movie and such, we would see Pumba a little later on, and until we get there, yeah. But Timon singing That's All I Need, and, just about, what he's searching for, and just, what he's hoping for, and, that's all he needs. And he's getting too distracted by his song number, and the fact that at one point at the start of the song, we saw hyenas starting to slowly but approach Timon. And once the song number is finished, but it's interrupted by the three hyenas, Shenzi, Bonsai, and Ed. Yep. And once again, Shenzi, Bonsai, and Ed being voiced by Whoopi Goldberg, Cheech Marin, and Jim Cummings. Yeah, great to see that, we got them back for this, and new recorded dialogue for these Lion King characters, and being voiced by their respective voice actors / actresses, And, well, Timon, he was supposed to, keep watch, but he got too distracted unintentionally by his song number, and, well, hi to you too, slapping Timon. Shenzi does that, and, well, that's when, technically, yeah, Timon alerts Uncle Max and the other meerkats that hyenas are present, and, well, panic erupts, and them scattering, and the hyenas, and especially Shenzi, liking it, that's just the way I like it, scramble, and a little running. And the meerkats, them starting to run, and Timon quickly pulled down in the tunnels by his maw, and get in here, what are you, a show-off, or however she says it, and all the other meerkats jumping on, in the ground, underground, and such, all except for Uncle Max, and, well, Ma counting out all of them, and where's Uncle Max? And Uncle Max running for his life, the meerkats, underlay, almost there, and then out of nowhere, the channel changes, and, well, Pumba, he's accidentally sitting on the remote, and it's one of those, channels, advertising and showing off, purses and items and stuff like that. You know those channels. And Pumba thought that it was a brownie that he was sitting on or something, but yeah. So the channel changes back, and we resume the movie, and, well, unfortunately, it seems like maybe Uncle Max didn't make it, because he didn't, but thankfully he did, but just, like, his back he's missing, like, part of his fur and his tail, and, Uncle Max, all he can let out is, "I flinched when I should have scurried." And, yeah, the hyena's walking off, and, it just never gets old, and, well, the meerkats and Uncle Max, they are upset towards Timon. This is pinned on him. It's his fault. But again, he didn't intentionally meant to be distracted while he was singing and not keeping watch on the hyenas. And, Timon apologizing. And I'm sure we can all have a laugh about this and so on. Trust me. And Uncle Max just, "I did trust you." Yeah. Well, again, it's not really Timon's fault, and Timon feeling so bad, and he's outside, sitting by himself, Ma coming to him, and, well, Timon, saying that nobody likes me, and Ma assuring him that, "Sure they do, honey, sure they do, besides you, Ma." And by this point, Timon, he decides that he is going to leave the meerkat colony and go find a new place where they can call it home and such. It's out there, and he's got to find it. And, well, Ma, she does now encourage and coach her son to find what he's looking for. Yeah, and a goodbye hug between each of them, and, she's very strong and just squeezing and hugging him very tightly, yeah. And also, Ma calling Timon at times, her little Timmy. And, yeah, Timon assuring her that he'll be okay, and she knows that, and, yeah. And as he walks off, well, her shouting, "Be careful, don't talk to strangers, wash behind your ears," and as far away as he walks, well, he can hardly hear what she's saying. I think a few times I actually turned up the volume. I cranked it up to hear what she was saying, and, her just like, "I said, blah, blah, blah." It's so funny. Hey, maybe some of you did that too. But anyways, so yeah, Timon, starting his journey and adventure, searching for what he can find, and, a new home for him and the other meerkats, and a bit of narration from Timon. "I put my past behind me and never looked back." And a little later on in that evening, because, well, out of nowhere, he breaks down and, "Mommy, Mommy!" And he was doing so great, and, well, he finally lets out. And he, by that point, came up to Rafiki's tree. Yep. And, just, "Which way should I go?" And Rafiki randomly popping up and saying to Timon, "That depends on what you see." And this is where we get from Rafiki that, Hakuna Matata. Rafiki's the one that starts off with Hakuna Matata, and it's passed on to Timon, and of course Pumba, as we all know. But it's nice to see that it started with Rafiki, Hakuna Matata. It means no worries. And Rafiki giving Timon guidance and telling him, to look beyond what you see. And Timon starts to do that, and, beyond what I see, just looking at different corners and places like a frog or a tree. And when he sees and spots Pride Rock, yeah, and he thinks that he's going to the big pointy rock, as he calls it. And even when the music was getting intense, and right before he focused on the big pointy rock, the music getting intense and him saying that it's kind of hard to think with all this music. So now he believes that his destination is the big pointy rock. Yeah. And as he still journeys on, well, a little scary moment right here, and for Timon being alone, and it just, yeah, especially at nighttime in the African savannah, you never know, even for an animal. even like say a meerkat, whatever, a tiny animal and such like Timon, his size, yeah. And well, it just gets intense, and well, we hear a scary noise, and something is coming straight towards Timon, and well, he starts to run for his life, and when ultimately we see that it's a warthog, and it's Pumba. This is where Pumba and Timon first encounter one another, and they first meet. And, just eat me already, and, well, Pumba assuring Timon that, easy there, little guy, I'm not going to eat you. And Timon just puzzled and asking Pumba why was he chasing him. Well, because Pumba noticed Timon was alone and thought that maybe he shouldn't be alone and such. But also Pumba, and especially we learned this from the Nintendo Game Boy of Lion King 1.5. If any of you, like me, has played that game, nice. Because Pumba, searching for a friend, and in this case, he has found Timon. Even like in the game, Rafiki helped out Pumba that there is someone nearby and that Rafiki spoke to. Again, if you've played the game, you know. And Timon, well, he views and sees Pumba not as a friend at first, but an acquaintance to be by his side, if any danger comes near him and Pumba. And yeah, not wanting to start a friendship that quick. I mean, Pumba's wanting to, but not for Timon at first, okay? Starting off, with an acquaintanceship, yeah. And soon, yeah, their acquaintanceship begins, shaking hands, introducing one another, and when Pumba says his name, Timon is just like, no, really. Just, yeah, a little, pause right there, and, well, thus, their acquaintanceship begins, and they proceed on to Pride Rock, yeah. And this is where, we're back at the beginning, yeah, this is right as they make their way to Pride Rock. That's when the opening to The Lion King begins, and from there on, yes. So now we're back at the beginning. Right, Timon? Right, Pumba? Yeah. And, well, when they make their way to Pride Rock, finally, well, because they're a little late, according to Pumba, because everybody's there, but little do they know what's going on at the big pointy rock. Because we know, of course, yeah. Well, once again, Timon doing the look beyond what you see, searching around and finding a spot that's close to Pride Rock where maybe that's their dream home, yeah. And they notice, the crazy monkey, as they refer to him at times, and they're wondering what he's holding up. And Timon is like, it's probably nothing important, but actually, it would be for them very later on. We know this, of course, but little do they know. And in order to proceed on where they're going, well, they have to go through the crowd of animals at the, presentation of Simba. And Pumba, he can't do this because he's not so well in crowds, but Timon insists. I mean, how is Timon really supposed to know, knowing Timon? And Pumba feeling uncomfortable, especially with all the animals staring at them. And Pumba, he's feeling something funny in his stomach and trying to hold it. And Timon, insisting they proceed on and nothing to worry about. But, and when Pumba suggests that he could use a rest stop and turn back, well, Timon accidentally grabbing Pumba's tail and letting out a huge fart, basically, and causing most of the African savanna animals to pass out. And, well, apparently, this explains why the animals in the opening to the first Lion King film bow down. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to make a huge complaint about this, nor did I first thought of this when, for the first time, I was watching The Lion King 1.5. Maybe the same goes for some of you, like me. I don't know. I mean, even as of now, I am not complaining about it and such. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell. It really is, You're entitled to your opinion on how you feel about that. But anyways, for me, Doesn't bother me. I don't care. Just, yeah, that's my opinion. So yeah, and then all the other animals bowing down, and Zazu, once again, not being voiced by Rowan Atkinson, but instead, it's Edward Hebert, who previously voiced Zazu in Lion King 2. And like I said in my review of Lion King 2, Edward doing a really good job filling in and voicing Zazu. Yeah. Well, the fact, because Zazu in Lion King 1.5 only has 2 lines. The first one, well, because pointing out to Mufasa, look, sire, how they kneel before the royal son. Yeah. And the second line he gets, which is a little later on in the film. Yeah. And well, that was one way for Timon and Pumbaa to get past the crowd of animals, and thus, yeah, they proceed on. Timon impressed with what Pumbaa did. Yeah. And eventually, when they get to supposedly the dream home, and Timon saying that it's all his, and Pumbaa kind of feeling left out, and maybe Timon doesn't need him and such, and, well, Timon assuring him that there's no law, that you can't be a part of this, and how he says it, and, well, Pumbaa, happy about this, and he just so happened to make 2 beds for them, a small one for Timon and a big one for him. Timon, he's not feeling comfortable in the small one, and thus he takes the big one. Well, I mean, how can you not, And Pumbaa, well, he has no problem sleeping in the small one that was originally for Timon, so yeah. And apparently, because you do the math, I mean, don't we all to this, because apparently, I guess they've been staying there for quite a while, because apparently the next day, they wake up to the song number, I Just Can't Wait to Be King. Okay, like I said, I take a good guess that probably they were staying there for quite a while, and one morning, they were awoken by, the song number, I Just Can't Wait to Be King. Doesn't that sound right? Probably so, yeah. But you can figure that out if you're thinking of something differently, but yeah, anyways. So yeah, they think that it's neighbors and, rowdy, noisy neighbors, hey, keep it down, and them checking out to see this, and, well, they can see, and, well, sometimes, Lion King 1.5 does use archival footage from the first Lion King film, but sometimes, with new animation for some shots, and apparently, we discover and learn that how and why the animals in the I Can't Wait to Be King song number, when at the very end they all started to collapse because they were stacked on top one another, apparently it was caused by Timon and Pumbaa, because Timon, using his stick, knock it off, hitting one of the elephants, and from there on, yeah, so. And who'd have thought that the I Can't Wait to Be King song number, it was happening near Pride Rock, because the first location that Timon and Pumbaa are at is near Pride Rock. You can tell, and we see that, so yeah. And Timon, the comment that he makes after all that's finished, oi, show people. And thus they proceed on trying to find a new dream home. And Pumbaa mentioning Timon that there is one place that he had been to, which, well, we know what it is, and we see, some footage that is shown, and yeah, but Timon, he's hardly even listening, and just, to what Pumbaa's saying. And well, the next location that they go to, where Timon thinks that maybe this could be the official dream home, the elephant graveyard. Well, little does Timon and Pumbaa know, and well, because they're right at the, famous spot / location of the elephant graveyard that we see in the first Lion King film, and, Timon, commenting and saying that, who would want to live in an elephant graveyard, and sure enough, they hide when Mufasa emerges, as well as Zazu, and Zazu's second to last line, which being, quickly, sire, the hyenas are off to the children, because he's flying, yeah. And we see, and, only, through shadows, and Timon and Pumbaa watching, that, yeah, Mufasa saving Simba and Nala, that sequence in the first Lion King film, yeah, so, yeah, and can't go for the elephant graveyard, and Timon commenting, saying, I see carnivores. course. And then they proceed to where the hyenas hang out, with the hot, steamy boiling water, that spot, and where Scar's villain song Be Prepared happened. Yep. And Timon thinks that maybe this is a good spot, and this could be, his dream home right here. I am perfectly happy right here, and commenting and complimenting on this location having steam and water, and steam is good, and yeah. And that is interrupted when, the Be Prepared song number happens, and we see shadows of the hyenas marching, just like in the first Lion King film, and a comment that Timon makes. I didn't get this until very later on, rewatching this and such. Timon saying, something tells me this ain't the traveling company of Riverdance. Yeah. If you know that joke, you know. And, because the reference of Be Prepared with the hyenas marching, if you know, you know. Just, God. Even Disney, if Lion King 1.5 was, say, made today, could not get away with that. No siree. That's amazing, and I applause for that. They managed to get that in, especially since that comes straight from Nathan Lane, Timon, and, but anyways. And yeah, Timon and Pumba river dancing away. And, they can't go for that, so what next? They go and they happen to be in the location of the gorge. Yep, because we know what's coming next, and, Timon commenting and what he says on the gorge, and maybe possibly this could be the dream home, but nope, that's interrupted when on the ground some rocks and stones are moving and shaking, and thus the wildebeest stampede is happening, and from what I can tell, Timon and Pumbaa, they'd have to be a bit far away from Simba in the gorge, further down in the gorge from Simba. Does that sound right? Yeah, because that's from what I can tell, and maybe you guys as well. Yeah, so, and when the wildebeest start to, show up at the exact location of the gorge where Timon and Pumbaa are, and Pumbaa asking Timon, shall we run for our lives? Oh, yes, let's. I love that. And thus they run for their lives screaming. And they get in the middle of the wildebeest. They're riding on top of one. And they're near, getting close to this edge. And, hang on, Timon! This is it. Goodbye, cruel world. And, when the wildebeest, slows down and, causing Timon and Pumbaa to fly off. And in slow motion, and sure enough, they land in a river. Yeah, they're okay. So when Timon's like, that's it? That wasn't so bad. Yeah, bring it on. Spoke too soon because, happening to see another edge and Timon asking Pumbaa, is it possible to fall off the edge of the earth? And Pumbaa commenting that the earth is round, which it is. And, basically, and as the camera pans out, further and further, they're going down a huge waterfall, and thus they do, and another moment where they pause the film. Pumbaa pauses it this time, and, just for a little commercial break, because he was going to do something, and Timon just sitting there, and he then starts to sing It's a Small World, and at one point, he starts to pick his nose. And, we hear some noise in the background, and, Pumbaa's obviously, probably getting some souvenirs, refreshments and such, and that's what he did, getting the jumbo, so each of them can share. And Pumbaa, noticing and just were you just picking your nose? No, says Timon, I had an itch on the inside, and, granted, yes, we would sometimes, and we wouldn't mean to pick our nose, right, because we would have an itch on the inside, but I think pretty much, if so, just use a tissue, most of the time you should use a tissue, just saying, and it's true, but yeah. And thus they unpause the movie, and Timon and Pumbaa, because it was paused right as they were going down the waterfall, and when they unpaused it and pressed play, them going down the waterfall further, and a little later in the evening, well, we see them, getting up to shore. And by that point, Timon, he feels the need to just call it quits, give up, because all that time trying to find a perfect dream home and nothing, not a perfect, like, dream home and such was found that Timon and Pumbaa were finding. And yeah, Timon, again, just feeling like giving up and telling Pumbaa that maybe he should go home and so on. But Pumbaa basically telling Timon that he has no home, he has no family, and for that matter, no friends. And Timon, he feels Pumbaa's pain because he tells Pumbaa that, truth is, I'm alone too. And, now he's got Pumba. And this is when Timon finally comes out and, accepts that, they should start a friendship. And Timon saying to Pumba that friends stick together till the end. And a very touching moment right there. Even it caused Timon to pause the movie because he couldn't help but cry. And, well, telling Pumba that, I just have something in my eye. And Pumba offering Timon a tissue, blowing his nose, and giving it back to Pumba. And yeah, they resume play, and nice, touching music that plays, and fading to the next day. And, especially by that point, because someone died, and what happened to the Pride Lands, oh, jeez. Well, I mean, at least, obviously, they don't acknowledge it because we're really focused on what's happening with Timon and Pumbaa, but yeah. And when they wake up the next morning, Timon just, still feeling down that they've failed the accomplishment on trying to find a dream home. And then Pumbaa, when he wakes up, the first thing he sees is an amazing sight, and Pumba telling Timon that, I think you're giving up too soon, Timon, turning Timon's head to see what he's seeing. Remember that place I told you about? Forget about your place, get a load of what I found. And it's basically the same thing that Pumba found. Again, Timon always, not paying attention to what Pumba says and the ideas that Pumba comes up with, but Timon getting the same ideas, So yeah, the official location and dream home for Timon and Pumbaa, which being the Hakuna Matata location, as they would name it. And as we see in the first Lion King film, where Timon and Pumbaa, they help and take in Simba, and they show and introduce, where they live. Yeah, paradise. And this location, it has everything, and everything that's perfect for Timon and his fellow meerkats, because it's a peaceful place, no danger coming to this location. Yeah, it's got dramatic views, your very own swing set, hot tubs, and spa. And then at one point, Timon's trying to remember those words that the monkey said to him, Hakuna Matata, and, naming the location. And he and Pumbaa, being the chef, he cooked up some dishes, and how they sound very similar to the word that Timon is trying to remember, because some of the dishes that Pumbaa says, a spoon latata, or, the spinach armada, or for me, bacata, and so on, and I gotta love butter! And, yeah, Timon just getting impatient with Pumbaa and just apologizing, and Pumbaa then saying, Hakuna Matata, and then Timon's just like, come again? And that's when, yeah, their friendship is really growing. And yeah, just Pumbaa then, saying, Hakuna Matata, it means no worries. And Timon just, the face he has. And we come to our next song number. Well, we know this song number by now, but this is the first time ever that they invent this song, and that, of course, being Hakuna Matata. And right before it begins, Pumba pausing the movie and suggesting Timon that, they should do a sing-along, and that's what it becomes. And a grub being like the bouncing ball, and yeah, even when at one point Pumba accidentally was, feasting on the grub. That poor grub. But yeah. And after that, well, because we come straight back to Timon's ma, being informed by Rafiki on what's been going on with his son, and, the metaphor Hakuna Matata, and her saying Ahuna Mawada. And for the first time ever, and the only time really, Timon's ma being the only Lion King character to use Rafiki's stick and to hit it on Rafiki's head. That's kind of an important detail there. Yeah, because we know, of course, Rafiki, using his stick to, smack on either Simba or Timon's head, that whole thing. But this time, he got a taste of his own medicine. Just, yeah. And, yeah, Ma is in desperate needs to search for Timon, and even letting Uncle Max know on this. Are you nuts? Why? Because why is Uncle well, I mean, yeah, how he still feels towards his nephew, but, Anyways, but of course, Uncle Max would tag along with Ma, as we all know, very later on in the film, and until we get there. Yeah, so coming back to Timon and Pumbaa, well, because there's one moment where they went bowling, of porcupines or something, and Timon got some, thorns on him, just, yeah. And at one point, Pumba notices and points out to Timon that there are buzzards nearby, and Timon, he's not feeling up to it and such, but Pumba, he's really wanting to bowl for some buzzards, and Timon, then he's like, oh, why not, for one last round, and thus charging at the buzzards, and we know where this is going, and thus, yeah, this is where Timon and Pumbaa first meet and encounter and save/bring in young Simba. Yeah, and a little sideshow, and Timon and Pumbaa making comments about, when they found and, took in Simba, and, when Timon says, parenthood. Yeah. And that sequence where we see young Simba, constantly waking up Timon. And this is what I wanted to mention, because I mentioned my mom earlier. When watching this movie, my mom, she at one point almost died of laughter, laying an egg, collapsing on the floor, because that one shot of Timon with blood vessels in his eyes, she can relate to Timon, because I pretty much did the same thing as Simba did. Well, I mean, I was young, and I'm sure some of you have been there too. Yeah. And by the way, young Simba in this being voiced by young Matt Weinberg. Yeah. Instead of What's-in-Face, well, by that point, he had grown up, so, yeah. But I think, Matt Weinberg, who voiced young Simba in 1.5, did pretty good, yeah. Almost, sounding almost identical to the original young Simba voice, Yeah, and just the montage of Simba constantly waking up, Timon, he has to go bad, when you gotta go, or he's thirsty, and, at times, we hear The Lion Sleeps Tonight, Jungle Boogie. I think that both of those songs, they working fine in The Lion King, don't you think? I mean, I think especially The Lion Sleeps Tonight, but Jungle Boogie, well, I don't know. Jungle Boogie, come on, I'm just saying, that's just me, and I'm sure you would think so too. But anyways, yeah, and Timon, when trying to, save Simba in those situations, going down a waterfall or falling out of a tree and Pumbaa stepping in, so funny. And even, one moment, very quick, where Simba's, tumbling and spinning, Simba's, tumbling and spinning Timon is so funny. And when Simba woke up Timon again and again, the shot of Timon with the blood vessels in his eyes, as I just said, well, Simba tells Timon that he had a bad dream. And Timon waking up Pumbaa and telling Pumbaa that Junior had a bad dream, and Pumbaa especially feeling bad for Simba, and offering and allowing Simba to, come cuddle up with them and such, yeah. And by the way, if it's not obvious, Timon and Pumbaa being the best non-gay dads, not that they are, but still, you get the point. But yeah, But yeah, it's a nice moment, and they're all sleeping together and such, and the lion sleeps tonight, finishing off, and yeah. And then later on, and the next morning, but, well, time's gone by a little, and by this point, we see teenage Simba, and how we did get a little glimpse of teenage Simba in the first Lion King film, the famous shot of them dancing on the log, and we see Simba growing up, and when he starts to grow up, we see, teenage Simba, his mane starting to grow, and from there on, yeah, so it's nice that we get a handful of teenage Simba in this. And, by the way, Simba, once again, being voiced by Matthew Broderick. Yep. And, because, them mentioning Hakuna Matata, Timon telling Sonny Boy, referring to Simba, I invented Hakuna Matata. Oh yeah, says Simba? Well, I perfected it. And then saying, getting into, the whole thing of them, that the fact that Simba has won every single eating contest, except for a snail slurping contest, because they never had one, and thus, the snail slurping contest begins, and a bit of Western music, from, one of the Clint Eastwood films, wow, 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 that, you know what I'm talking about. Actually, I think that was one of my earliest introductions to that piece of music. There was this and a couple of other films, like, say, another Disney film, which being The Pacifier. Yeah, that was in The Pacifier, and if anybody knows what I'm talking about. So, yeah. Any of you that have seen Pacifier, yeah, with Vin Diesel. Yeah, so the snail slurping contest happening, and, because, each of them, Timon and Pumba, being very successful on slurping and eating the snails. Pumba feeling that this wasn't such a good idea. And yeah, just constantly slurping all these snails up to the last ones, By this point, they're sick to their stomachs. Simba finishes the last one. And as for Timon, he's about to, but then he envisions Pumba. I told you this wasn't such a good idea. And Timon, he can't bear to slurp one more, and yeah, Simba's won this eating contest again, so yeah, and Timon passing out, and yeah. And a moment between Timon and Pumbaa as they watch Simba walk off, and, Timon saying that our Simba is growing up, and we get into another little song number, and, sunrise, sunset, and, and by that point, Simba is now all grown up, and with his mane, yeah, that look of Simba that we know so well, aside from young Simba, yeah. So in everything, the life for Simba, Timon, and Pumbaa still going great in Hakuna Matata, and, then there's one moment where we see them, taking a hot tub / jacuzzi, and, say what you will, I think it works I think it still works pretty good in the film, because, originally, it was seen in one of the trailers for Lion King 1.5, and that was mainly for one of those trailers. But still, I think it still turned out fine in the movie itself, don't you think? Yeah, you can let me know. And when Pumba calls it a day, and when he gets out, he apparently is the one that is making the bubbles happen in this hot tub / jacuzzi. Yeah, and Timon and Simba staring at one another and staring at the water, and, each of them just like, I'm out, right behind you, and they all snuggle up together, it's bedtime, and, dream of bed bugs tonight, and yeah, and Timon using Simba's paws like a bed sheet and such. And Timon and Pumbaa, narrating over how life for them and Hakuna Matata, fantastic, and, having it continue on. But that all got interrupted, and as we all know, when enter Nala. Yeah, and basically, from Timon's point of view, destroying Hakuna Matata for them, and breaking, the trio and such. And just like how it's established in the first Lion King film, in this, oh man, they really go at it. Timon telling Pumba that we can't make them feel the love tonight. And the Peter Gunn theme plays, and, basically Timon whispering to Pumba on what they should do to not have Simba and Nala fall in love and, well, yeah, feel the love tonight. And Timon, trying to, shoot a prickly thorn, but Simba getting rid of it, and it hits Timon. And anytime, and with that montage, Timon getting wounded and such from whatever it is that he's doing, trying to, destroy and ruin the love between Simba and Nala, it comes back to him, like when going for a spider, but a spider falls in love with another spider, and they basically make a web heart behind Simba and Nala. Pumba finds this very romantic, but Timon, well, we see him, he got webbed by the spiders, and even releasing bees, that didn't work, and they chase after Timon. He got stung. Apparently he lost 1 or 2 teeth. How? But who cares, And, and then finally, because they tried to use some rope to cause them to slip and fall, but they were already at an edge, and with the rope caught on their feet, well, because it causes Timon and Pumbaa to be propelled and just, be flown in the air, and they hit a tree, causing butterflies to emerge and such, yeah, and Can You Feel the Love Tonight continuing, and just, yeah. And by the way, the Peter Gunn theme that plays in that sequence, it would wound up being in another Disney direct-to-video/DVD film sequel, and that being Stitch the Movie, if you know what I'm talking about, because that little montage where, Lilo and Stitch, they hijack Cobra's car, and they're driving around the streets, and yeah, so if you know what I'm talking about. So that's another one where the Peter Gunn theme is used, and, well, also, that was one of my earliest introductions to that piece of music, the Peter Gunn theme. It's thanks to Lion King 1.5 and Stitch the Movie. And I'm sure the same goes for some of you. Probably. You can let me know, but yeah. And, well, Timon and Pumbaa just, watching the sight of how so in love Simba and Nala are. And that's when we come up to when Timon and Pumbaa, they finish off Can You Feel the Love Tonight, as they did in the first Lion King film, from beginning to end. And, and if he falls in love tonight. But this time, and very clever, because the camera is behind Timon and Pumbaa. Yeah, that's clever, because in the first Lion King film, it was facing in front of them. You see, because, yeah, even and in this, where the camera is facing behind them, we see Simba and Nala, they walk off, and yeah. So, yeah, after all that, Timon and Pumbaa, feeling down, especially Timon. However, Pumbaa notices and points out to Timon that maybe it worked, what they were doing, and they notice that Simba and Nala are getting into a little argument. But little do they know what the argument actually is between Simba and Nala. And as we all know in the first Lion King film, because Nala telling Simba that he is the rightful king and he needs to come back to the Pride Lands, but Simba, he's refusing, and we know why, of course, but little does Nala know. And Timon feeling that what they were trying to do worked, and Pumbaa's like, and that's a good thing? Yeah, good response there. And them watching Simba run off, and, well, Timon especially understands that probably, needs some time of his own to let the anger out and such, yeah. And just so happens, and right before they walk off, a storm cloud is showing up, and Timon tells Pumbaa, "Whew, let's get out of here, Pumbaa. I think the storm is coming and such, yeah." Well, it just so happens, and by recognizing that piece of music and seeing what the cloud forms, yeah, we know. Mufasa, yeah. Mufasa's ghost is upon Simba, and so on, yeah. And Rafiki, of course, we know where this goes. And And Timon and Pumbaa, settling down for the evening, and by the next morning, well, as we all know, Nala came up to Timon and Pumbaa, waking them up because Simba nowhere in sight, and, actually, because in Lion King 1.5, we see this, right after, Rafiki showed up briefly to let them know that the king has returned, and Nala telling Timon and Pumbaa, reminding them that, it's just like the baboon said, the king has returned. And Nala, once again, and just for that scene, Moira Kelly, just for that one scene, Nala didn't have that many lines, but you know what? It was still worth it for Moira Kelly, gotta slow down, to reprise the voice role of Nala. Yeah, Nala basically having to go into full detail on Simba, and, you want me to go over it again? And yeah, Timon and Pumbaa just sitting there silent, and they're talking in their heads, each of them. Pumbaa feeling, very sorry and feeling sad for Simba, but for Timon, he's just like, blah, blah, blah. Why is she so-on-so? Yeah, Timon's not taking this the same way as Pumbaa and so on. And, when Nala was finished with what she was saying to them, well, they're just still sitting there, just clueless, and Nala just like, oh, don't you get it? Simba needs us now. And her running off to catch up to Simba, and Timon that just feeling so upset towards Simba that he feels, and wrongfully so, that, he takes it the wrong way, that feeling that Simba has, left them and left Hakuna Matata and such, feeling that, that Simba ditched them and such. But Pumba, telling Timon that, they gotta help Timon. They have to help Simba. He's telling this to Timon. And also Timon is missing the real meaning and point on Hakuna Matata. Because Timon, after all he had been through trying to find a perfect dream home, and it's right here, they're on the grounds of Hakuna Matata, yeah. And Timon, feeling that, Pumbaa's gonna be doing the same thing, and, what about Hakuna Matata and, friends sticking together to the end? Huh? And Pumba, the last thing he says, and, upset towards Timon, I was about to ask you the same thing. And right there, that being a very serious moment for Pumba, and yeah, you can tell, and because, Pumba was not joking around, and he really meant it, And I love that. I've said this before, I love those certain times and moments with some Disney sidekick characters like Timon and Pumbaa and Genie, where they would have their serious moments and the dialogue they would have. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what's so great about some of the Disney sidekicks, without a doubt. The same goes for Baloo, because, him being all, happy-go-lucky and, being a lazy bear and with bare necessities, but he still had his serious moments and how much he loved and cared Mowgli. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You see, again, that's what I love, and I'm sure you guys would feel the same way too, yeah. And Timon, because coming back to the film and with Timon and Pumbaa, Pumbaa, he's wanting to go and catch up with Simba and Nala to the Pride Lands, but Timon, he doesn't want any part of it. And, all that Timon can say is, I got everything I need right here, but not exactly. Timon is still missing the point of Hakuna Matata and where Hakuna Matata is, yeah. And Pumba, he gets a bit teary-eyed, because he can't stand and to see, what his best friend is doing, just staying behind and not helping. And thus, Pumba, he proceeds on. Timon is now alone by himself in Hakuna Matata, his dream home, and Timon letting out, saying, now, this is more like it. Elbow room, and an echo. I just like that scene for some reason, just how Nathan Lane says it and the echo, just, I don't know, something about it, And Timon is starting to feel sad that yeah, he's alone and still feeling that his friends have now ditched him. And Timon by himself and sadly singing to himself Hakuna Matata, and how the movie fades and seeing Timon in different locations of Hakuna Matata, in the hot tub, the log, the swings, without Simba and Pumba by his side. Yeah. And that one spot, just like in the first Lion King film, where they sit in the grass watching the stars, yeah, we can still see like the grass marks where Pumbaa and Simba laid down. That's amazing. Nice detail. And, well, Rafiki happening to show up, and Timon just, telling Rafiki, no, don't say a word. I know what you're going to say. Did you find Hakuna Matata? Well, yes, I did, and just so on. And basically, Timon is speaking for Rafiki. Even Rafiki just like, ugh, And Timon, he then starts to put it together, still feeling that his friends had left him and ditched him and such, but it all comes together when he realizes that my Hakuna Matata went with them. Yeah, he figured it out himself without anything to come from Rafiki, and Rafiki being very pleased with Timon, and Timon asking Rafiki to, kind of like hit him on the head with the stick, just, not that hard, but yeah, thanks. I'm glad we had this talk. And yeah, just giving him the click, Yeah, and then he proceeds on to catch up with the others, and Rafiki, all he can say is, my work here is done, and pretty much, yeah, for now. And just like in the first film, because, again, more references to the first Lion King film, well, this time, one of my favorites, and for some reason, I like how Lion King 1.5 did this then, no offense to the first one, I'm just saying, but how the music and how the chorus sounds in Lion King 1.5 with the shot of, one of the characters running in the desert and the shot of their legs, that. I, for some reason, really like how it sounds in this, with the chorus and the music. I'm just saying. Again, no offense to the first one, okay? I'm just simply saying. Yeah, because this time we see Pumba running in the desert, and, well, Timon, he had catched up to Pumba, and, well, right there, because, they don't say anything at first, but Timon, he says something at, first, and saying to Pumba that friends stick together to the end, and Pumba's so happy to hear him say that, and emotionally hugging him, and the camera panning out, and we see Timon and Pumba still watching the movie, pausing it, and Timon asking Pumba, what was with the running? And, well, because apparently Pumba was running slow. And Pumba basically explains to Timon that he was giving him time to catch up. And that's nice and sweet of Pumba, oh, you big lug, them hugging, and they resume the movie. And thus, Timon and Pumba, proceeding on to the Pride Lands and to catch up with Simba and Nala. And as we all know from there on, however, when it comes to, say, the hula dance, it doesn't last that long. Timon and Pumba, they flat out skip it. Let's just cut to the chase, shall we? Oh, sure, because I think it's obvious they're embarrassed by it, no doubt. Yeah, so when we see them getting chased, and we see it in this, because they end up going into this cave, but then Pumba, I guess, yeah, he lets out some smoke or something, his farts, and causing the hyenas to flee. And Timon saying that, I love the smell of Pumba in the morning. And then that's when we see them running into Ma and Uncle Max. And even when Timon is still wearing a hula dress. And this is where Ma and Uncle Max first meet Pumba. And, well, doesn't take too long for them to notice and realize that, yeah, Simba at Pride Rock and confronting Scar, and that's where, yeah, because Scar, causing Simba to have the fears come back to him, this time Daddy isn't here to save you, that, and, well, when the lightning strikes, the fire, that whole thing. And now, Ma and Uncle Max are brought in to helping out Timon and Pumbaa with, rescuing and saving the Pride Lands and, for Simba. And well, Timon has his ma and Uncle Max dig tunnels, specifically for the hyenas. Like, there's an idea that's being put together by them, and yeah, Timon and Pumbaa proceeding on to help out Simba, and that's when the next time we would see them, after they got chased by the hyenas, they would charge and start to fight and attack the hyenas. Yeah, and even when it comes to them, getting into a tunnel, Timon getting chased by Bonsai and Shenzi, getting into that bone cage with Zazu, and Ma and Uncle Max, Ma, especially, saying that there's something different about Timon, and Uncle Max, his response is, "You think? He's wearing a dress!" Well, it's not that, How brave and smart that Timon has become thoroughly, and what Ma is sensing. Something good, that has changed in Timon. And well, we're getting up to the climax, and right to win, Simba starts to chase Scar up top Pride Rock. And just so happens, we see in this that the hyenas, a group of hyenas, are behind Simba's tail, trying to stop him from getting to Scar. And well, thankfully, Timon and Pumbaa, they distract and stop the hyenas from getting to Simba. "Hey, Pumbaa, what do you call a hyena with half a brains?" And, "Beats me, Timon. Gifted!" And yeah, Ed found that funny, and this is where we would come back to see Shenzi, Bonsai, and Ed in this. Yeah, we saw them in the beginning, and the next time we would see them again is at the climax. Yeah, so and basically the hyenas are technically the antagonists of Lion King 1.5, apart from Scar. Scar hardly appearing in this, nor is Scar once again being voiced by Jeremy Irons. And the same goes for Mufasa, because yeah, no dialogue for Mufasa, no James Earl Jones. Well, if they wanted, each Mufasa and Scar to talk, and if Jeremy Irons was available to voice a few lines for Scar, but with the final film itself, it's perfectly fine that each Mufasa and Scar don't get any speaking lines. They're still there, but that's all that matters, Anyways, so yeah, Timon and Pumbaa running from the hyenas, but they're cornered, and, again, Ed found their joke funny, but Bonsai slapping Ed and telling him that they're talking about us, and Shenzi then saying, "For your last meal, you're going to eat those words," and yeah, and they've now got their attention, and Timon, alerting Ma, underneath, and while they're digging tunnels, and Uncle Max is singing "Dig a Tana," and they're putting up sticks, they need more time to, distract and stall the hyenas, because they're not finished yet, and thus Timon and Pumbaa putting on a little show, spinning some plates, and, dun, 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 the can, and then, freestyle, do. So funny, and they do applaud. They kind of found this annoying, but then they did start to applaud, and, encore, no, you mean entree, and they proceed still to try and eat them, and they still need more time, Ma and Uncle Max, and Timon then gets this crazy idea where, wait, hold on a second, and then he starts to speak directly to Shenzi, and apparently because we learn Shenzi's full name, and basically Timon is proposing to Shenzi. Pumbaa just because he finds this crazy of Timon, and Timon just and I love how Timon says this, in that deep voice that Nathan Lane does for Timon, "Becoming my bride." And Shenzi, she kind of twitched her eye a little. "I don't think so." And yeah, that didn't work out so great. And Timon's still going on, just what will the children look like, and so on. And Pumba tapping Timon, and "Can I be your best man?" And Bonsai then saying, "I say we skip the wedding and go straight to the buffet." And Ma popping up and, asking Timon, "Now?" Because they've now finished. And Timon, his response is, "Sure, when you're ready." already, and thus, yeah, now Max, now, and unleashing chaos, what they did underground, breaking the sticks and causing a crack, and, well, because, yeah, it comes straight to the hyenas, them, like, backing up and such, but it didn't work, because it got stuck, and yeah, I need help, it didn't work. Hey, works for me, says Bonsai, and now what are they going to do, because all of them being cornered, but Timon, he takes it upon himself to go in there and to finish it, yeah, running and charging and just breaking the rest of the twigs, and, well, right as the hyenas, like, were about to lunge and eat them, well, parts of the grounds of Pride Rock, they crack open and sending the hyenas to slide down a tunnel, and, well, yeah, that's the end of the hyenas. They're defeated. Well, I mean, yeah, it doesn't kill them, because we know, of course, what happens in the first Lion King film, and, to think while that was going on, the hyenas cornering Timon, Pumba, Ma, and Uncle Max up top of Pride Rock, well, because the confrontation between Scar and Mufasa, yeah. However, because it is obvious, right? Because there was a moment where Shenzi Bonsai and Ed, they happened to be up top, and they overheard what Scar said, pointing at them and saying that, that they are the real enemy, it's their fault, it was their idea, they were there, but I don't know. I mean, you can figure that out and such. I mean, and I could too, but yeah. And I guess you can say, and after the hyenas were defeated, they happened to pop out right where Scar was when, yeah, we see that, yeah, Simba, throws Scar off of Pride Rock, he tumbles, Pumba, Ma, and Uncle Max, they witness this, and yeah, and we know what happens from there on, yeah. And again, like I said, more than likely the hyenas, they emerged after sliding down a tunnel, and they met up with Scar, and from there on, yeah. And, well, all has been taken care of, the hyenas and Scar defeated, and, well, there's no sign of Timon, and Ma going in a panic mode because thinking that Timon got accidentally killed and is lost because of his heroism and such. But no, Timon is perfectly fine, and yeah, Ma happy to see that her baby is safe and sound, and was almost about to, like, fix one part of Timon's hair, but just, but then Timon, he allows her to do so, you missed a spot. And Uncle Max, he's now happy/proud of his nephew, and starts to hug him, but he's choking on him, just squeezing him tightly. Well, come on, you've made your uncle happy, Timon, so, you should at least allow it. But despite the fact, yeah, he's kind of suffocating, but of course he's all right. And, well, we then come to, just like in the first Lion King film, well, where Simba now is now being crowned as the new king of Pride Rock and the Pride Lands, and this was not shown in the first Lion King film, but in this, right before Simba walks up and, well, right up to Rafiki, well, he noticed Timon and Pumbaa coming up to him, and they bow to him, but Simba, he goes in for a hug, and, Simba saying to Timon and Pumbaa, I couldn't have done it without you guys, and he's not wrong, because, without Timon and Pumbaa being there, who knows? Yeah. And especially since, well, a huge important part in Simba's life, Timon and Pumbaa, it's thanks to them, and, Simba wouldn't be where he is now. So, yeah. And them watching Simba, walk up to the top of Pride Rock, and they're very proud of him, that's our boy, says Pumbaa, and Timon is just like, I promised myself I wouldn't cry, and yeah, and them watching, and happiness that, him roaring and such, and even Ma and Uncle Max being there, with this happening, and Ma asking Timon that if he found what he was looking for, and, her realizing that he came a long way, and Timon assuring his Ma and taking her to their new official home, and yep, the new official home for the Meerkats, and yeah. And we get a new song number, a new rendition, I should say, of Digatana, with new lyrics and, no longer do the meerkats have to worry about the hyenas? And now the meerkat colony has full respect and love for Timon. Yeah. And nice to see that Simba is there too. Yeah, as the song number finishes. And like there's one moment and right before the rendition of Digatuna starts, like Uncle Max, to point out Uncle Max, he is now doing yoga. Okay, good for him. And, well, yeah, the movie finishing, and we come back to Timon and Pumbaa having watched the movie, and Pumbaa asking, you know, like, it's over already? Well, Pumbaa, that's the thing with movies. They come and go, and so on. And Pumbaa asking if they could watch it again, but Timon telling him that we just saw it. Maybe tomorrow. Like, they can watch it tomorrow. But then Timon's ma steps in, and she pretty much missed the whole thing, and, you know, you didn't tell me you were watching the movie. I want to watch too. Ma, we just finished it. Show's over. And she basically restarts the whole thing, rewinding it from the beginning, and, poor Timon. Well, his ma, as well as Uncle Max and everybody else that comes into the room, they hadn't seen it. Because, yeah, Uncle Max stepping in, he brought extra butter, as he says, Simba stepping in, and Rafiki coming in, a very, you know, wise thing that he says, you know, it's true, you know, any story worth telling is worth telling twice, and it's true, yeah, it's worth telling twice, yeah. And a bunch of other characters step in, but it's a bunch of Disney characters. Yeah, we first see Mickey Mouse, then Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. We see Genie, Belle, Beast, Hyacinth Hippo from Fantasia, which, by the way, that was, I think for a lot of us, that's when we learned the name of that hippo from Fantasia, Hyacinth, yeah. And the Mad Hatter, the March Hare are there, as well as Goofy, Donald, Stitch, yep, as well as Peter Pan, the Lost Boys, Tinkerbell, one of the, you know, gargoyles from Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yeah, you know which one. I'm pretty sure, yeah, one of them was there, yeah. And also Turk being there, as well as Mowgli, Baloo, Dumbo, and a bunch of others, you know, that I can't place some more, but you know. Yeah, and not to mention those that do the voices of some of those Disney characters that have a few speaking lines, like Tony Anselmo, once again voicing Donald, Bill Farmer, Goofy, as well as Sleepy, because, yeah, the dwarves getting a few lines, Jeff Bennett, Bashful, Corey Burton, Grumpy, the Lost Boys were Sean Fleming, Snow White was Carolyn Gardner, Bob Joles, Sneezy, Tress MacNeille did a voice, Delroy was Doc, and of course, Chris Sanders voicing Experiment 626, Stitch, Iron Joe / Happy were both voiced by, oh yeah, I believe, yeah, Iron Joe, yeah, that's the name of that meerkat that we saw earlier, just could no longer take the position of, you know, Sentry, yeah, being voiced by Kevin Shawn, who most notably, you know, has filled in for Nathan Lane, voicing Timon, you know, yeah, and Blaine Weaver, voicing Peter Pan, just for the crowing, yeah. You know, and speaking more of Stitch, because I mentioned Stitch early on, well, apparently, because, you know, it is canon, the fact that Timon and Pumbaa were technically present during the presentation of Simba, because in this and in one of the teaser trailers for Lilo and Stitch, where Stitch took Simba's place, and we saw Timon and Pumbaa and another warthog, and Timon saying, hey, that's not Simba. Yeah, if you know, you know. How can you not? Yeah. So Timon giving in and, you know, saying to Pumbaa, okay, buddy, you win. Sure you don't mind, says Pumba, asking him, and, well, Timon, the last line he says is, Hakuna Matata. And, well, the movie has been rewind, and yep, they're right at the beginning, and then Pumbaa then saying to Timon, right as the movie restarts, he says to Timon, Timon, I still don't do so well in crowds. And yeah, just what a heck of a way just to end off Lion King 1.5 right there, without a doubt. Yeah, a great ending right there. And the end credits, a few things I want to point out. Like, apparently, and it's in the trivia, and if any of you by any chance know this, Zazu's name is misspelled. I actually never noticed that. That's weird. Like, well, a misspell, it's one of those things, a typo. We've all been there, haven't we? Heck, even in movies, okay? Sometimes there'd be a typo, right? Just saying, And also, 3 songs that play during the end credits, like a remix of Digatana, as well as Let's Dig It, which was sung by Raven Simone. And if any of you have listened to that on the soundtrack and have seen the music video, yeah. One last time we hear the rest of the song of That's All I Need, and instead of it's hyena time, it's Timona Rumba time. Yeah. When it comes to the ending of that song, oh, I love that. It's so catchy, and a great way to end off the film, and with the credits. Yeah, Nathan Lane singing. Yeah, fantastic. Also, a few other mentionings. If any of you happen to have noticed this whenever you have watched Lion King 1.5, there are a lot of hidden Mickeys, including Mickey Mouse himself, appearing towards the end of the film. A total of 20 hidden Mickeys in Lion King 1.5. Not to mention, on the bonus features of Disc 1, there's a little game that you can do while watching the movie to spot and count out all 20 hidden Mickeys in the film. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that is the total of hidden Mickeys, being 20, so yeah. And to mention some of the other bonus features very quickly, because, I've already mentioned, say, the virtual safari in this, as well as Who Wants to Be King of the Jungle, but also another game where you need to spot and identify whom is there watching Lion King 1.5. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, pretty fun game. And also, Behind the Legend. Does anybody remember that? Oh, that was pretty good. Yeah, pretty funny. Yeah, just so funny. And to think that What's-His-Face from Airplane, you ever seen a grown man naked? It's true. Him being there and being the host of, Behind the Legend, and, which being Timon. It's so good. It's a nice feature, part of the Lion King 1.5 DVD, as well as all the other bonus features from the behind the scenes, the deleted scenes, even some of the deleted scenes, like an alternate version on how Timon and Pumba tell the story of the movie without, it wouldn't have at first been the whole thing of them pausing the movie and such, a nod to Mystery Science Theater. It would have been different, but I think we'd all be glad that what's in the final film is perfect, yeah. And also, there's one moment where they would have stumbled upon seeing Simba and Mufasa at the scene where Mufasa, is setting his son straight. You deliberately disobeyed me. That part, yeah. And when seeing Mufasa Timon, I remember the comment that he makes, this is either the entrance of a public library or we're in a whole lot of trouble. What he says, and saying public library. Pretty funny, but it worked out fine with that, with not including that in the final film, and to all the other deleted scenes. Not to mention, we would have seen Timon's father, but in the end, and in the final film, it's all just Timon's ma. But yeah, it would have been nice, and even a mention of Timon's father, but it still turned out fine, without any mention or presence of Timon's father. Yeah. But yeah, The Lion King 1.5. Just what more do I have to say? A fantastic, nostalgic Disney direct-to-video / DVD film sequel, and a really good sidequel, as it's referred to, in the Lion King franchise. what goes on in this film. We get to see Timon's Ma and Uncle Max, and, you know, knowing the beginnings of Timon and Pumbaa when they first met, and what they were doing throughout the first Lion King film, apart from, you know, Simba, the whole thing of, you know, running away from the Pride Lands, that whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, just, again, what more do I have to say? Lion King 1.5 is a really good sidequel. Yeah. The story to Lion King 1.5, fantastic, really good. And with the characters, new faces that step in, fantastic voice work, and those whom reprise their voice roles as, you know, the characters that we all know and love. Some amazing animation, the funny moments, and sometimes emotional moments, of course. Because this is Lion King, it has to have that, right? And those moments where Timon and Pumbaa would pause the movie, some funny shenanigans they get themselves into, and some references and stuff that we see that happens in the first Lion King film that we see in this, and the ending to the movie, and with all the Disney characters showing up, the songs and the music and score to Lion King 1.5, yeah. Just overall, everything about The Lion King 1.5, again, fantastic. And I'm giving The Lion King 1.5 10 out of 10 stars. Yes, 10 out of 10 stars for The Lion King 1.5. And what about you guys? What did you think of The Lion King 1.5 itself? Was it one of those Disney direct-to-video / DVD film sequels that you watched a lot? You know, any of you having a DVD copy of this? And with the bonus features, what were some of your favorite bonus features on discs 1 and 2? And with the games and the behind-the-scenes? What were some of your favorite moments in 1.5, and with the characters and the references to the first Lion King film and the funny moments that happen in this, like, you know, sometimes just out of nowhere, the emotional moments and the movie's ending? Which are some of your favorite songs? Yeah, just overall, what do you think of The Lion King 1.5 itself, and with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of The Lion King 1.5. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And, well, there's one more Lion King film for me to review, and you know what's next. Who'd have thought we would get a live-action remake of The Lion King? Stay tuned for that. Take care, and peace out. Hakuna Matata.